Open this door right now or I'm breaking it down.
Can you first tell me what this is about?
We got a call about a disturbance. You need to step outside.
A disturbance? I'm a nurse. I just worked a double shift. I've been asleep for 2 hours.
Ma'am, last warning. Open up or you're getting arrested.
Every single moment was being captured by the doorbell camera. Every threatening word, every demand that broke the rules, every violation that would destroy Officer Bradley Mitchell's career, his retirement benefits, and eventually his freedom. He had absolutely no clue that the worn-out nurse behind that door had just spent her shift keeping 3 people alive in intensive care and was about to dismantle his entire career without even changing out of her sleepwear. At precisely 11:30 at night, on a Thursday in downtown Seattle, what was supposed to be a standard welfare check became a federal investigation that would reveal 10 years of falsified documents, result in criminal prosecution, and demonstrate that sometimes the person being threatened understands the law better than you think. This wasn't just another clip of police abuse. This was a trauma nurse from the emergency room with 15 years handling violent emergencies, standing up to an officer who believed he could deceive his way through any situation. The aftermath would stun an entire police force and reveal that surveillance cameras protect everyone, not just one side. Before we go further, tell me where you're tuning in from. Leave your city in the comments and hit that subscribe button because this gets absolutely insane and you won't want to miss what comes next. Danielle Moore was 43 and appeared completely drained because she genuinely was. She'd just completed a punishing 16-hour shift at Seattle Grace Medical Center, among the most hectic trauma facilities on the western seaboard. Danielle worked emergency room critical care, the type of nurse who could maintain someone's life despite organ failure while managing 5 physicians and instructing 2 interns simultaneously. She'd witnessed horrors that would haunt ordinary people forever: bullet injuries, knife attacks, vehicle crashes bringing entire families through emergency doors, narcotic emergencies, attempted suicides, every conceivable human catastrophe and medical crisis. As an African-American woman in emergency healthcare, she'd also mastered handling moments when people doubted her competence or knowledge. Despite her 15 years of practice and numerous credentials covering her office walls, Danielle had spent 15 years in emergency healthcare. Previously, she'd served as a combat medic in the military, 2 deployments to Iraq, treating injured soldiers while under enemy attack. She earned both a Bronze Star and Purple Heart for her military service. She understood how to maintain composure when chaos surrounded her. She could make survival decisions within heartbeats. More importantly for what was coming, Danielle had worked 3 years as a forensic nurse examiner. She'd provided courtroom testimony countless times. She received training in evidence gathering, maintaining proper documentation chains, preservation procedures, and presenting medical testimony to juries. She knew exactly how law enforcement should function because she'd collaborated directly with police officers, district attorneys, and criminal defense lawyers for years. Danielle occupied a modest 1-bedroom place in Seattle's Capitol Hill district by herself. The building stayed peaceful, filled mainly with younger working adults and elderly tenants who minded their business. 7 years she'd been there without issues. 0 noise violations, 0 neighbor conflicts, absolutely nothing. This specific Thursday evening in November, Danielle clocked the 3 p.m. to 7 a.m. rotation, though it extended because 2 emergency patients arrived during shift transition. When she finally reached home, the time showed 9:15 p.m. She showered quickly, consumed some reheated pasta, and crashed into bed near 9:45. She'd fallen into that profound, empty sleep, born from total exhaustion when aggressive banging at her door shocked her awake. Boom, boom, boom. Danielle's eyes flew open, her professional instincts activated before conscious thought. She glanced at her phone. 11:28 p.m. Less than 2 hours of rest. The hammering persisted, harder and more hostile. Boom, boom, boom. Police, open up. Danielle climbed from bed, still wearing her sleepwear basic shirt and cotton bottoms. Her brain cycled through scenarios: mistaken apartment, building emergency. She hadn't violated anything. She literally just finished saving people's lives. She approached her entrance and peered through the peephole. A uniformed police officer stood in the corridor. He appeared furious. His posture screamed aggression, leaning forward, palm hovering near his firearm. Danielle kept the door secured. Years working emergency medicine taught her to evaluate situations before reacting. Something seemed off. "What's going on?" she shouted through the barrier. "Open this door immediately or I'll kick it in," the officer yelled back. "Can you explain what's happening first?" "We received a complaint about a commotion. Step outside now." Danielle's thinking shifted into assessment mode. A commotion? She'd been unconscious. Her place was completely silent. No television, no music, no visitors, nothing. "A commotion? I work as a nurse. I just pulled a double. I've only been sleeping 2 hours." "Lady, final chance. Either open up or you're going to jail." This point is where most individuals would have unlocked that door. The commanding voice, the arrest warning, the uniform most people obey despite their doubts. Danielle wasn't most individuals. "Officer, I'm keeping this door shut until I understand the situation. What commotion? Who made the call? Which apartment did they identify?" Silence from beyond the door. Then his radio static crackled. Danielle snatched her phone and executed 3 rapid actions. First, she began audio recording. Second, she launched her Doorbell camera application. She'd installed it 6 months earlier for package monitoring, and barely thought about it since. The live stream displayed Officer Bradley Mitchell positioned directly outside, his features completely visible, his threatening stance undeniable. Third, she messaged her hallway neighbor, an attorney named Ryan. "Police outside my door, very aggressive, claiming disturbance. I was asleep, recording everything on doorbell cam. Can you hear this?" Ryan answered instantly. "I hear him. He's screaming. My doorbell camera catches him too. Recording now. Stay safe." Quick question for everyone watching. Would you unlock that door with a cop acting this hostile but refusing explanations? Drop yes or no below. The officer pounded again. "Open up right now." Danielle maintained her steady, clear voice, projecting toward the entrance so her recording caught everything. "Officer, I'll cooperate gladly, but I need clarity here. Could you provide your name and badge identification?" "You don't require my badge information. You require this door open. Actually, Washington state regulations grant me the right to identify who's making contact. Please identify yourself." The officer's tone shifted quieter now, more menacing. "Lady, if this door stays closed 5 more seconds, I'm assuming you're destroying evidence and I'm entering." "Evidence of what exactly?" "I was sleeping. I'm employed at Seattle Grace. Just finished a 16-hour rotation. There's 0 disturbance happening." 5. 4. Danielle reached her decision. She dialed 911. The operator picked up immediately. 911. What's your emergency?" "This is Danielle Moore, Meridian Apartments on East Pine Street, Unit 312. A police officer is threatening to force entry. He mentions a disturbance call but won't clarify anything. I was asleep. I requested his badge number, and he's refusing. Can you confirm this call and explain what's occurring?" The dispatcher sounded puzzled. "Hold please, ma'am." The pounding ceased. He must have heard her phone conversation through the door. Roughly 30 seconds passed before the dispatcher returned. "Ma'am, I'm showing 0 disturbance reports for your location tonight." "Describe this officer for me?" "Male, Caucasian, appears 30s, medium frame, full Seattle PD uniform. He's standing in my hallway currently." "Ma'am, connecting you with a supervisor now. Stay connected." Danielle detected the officer's radio through the door. He spoke with someone, though words remained unclear. A different voice came through Danielle's phone. "This is Sergeant Williams, Seattle PD. Explain your situation, please." Danielle recounted everything: the door pounding, break-in threats, disturbance claims, identification refusal, the countdown, all details. Sergeant Williams sounded troubled. "Ma'am, ask that officer again for his surname and badge identification. I'm staying on this line." Danielle called out, "Officer, Seattle Police Sergeant Williams is on my phone currently. He's requesting your identification." Extended silence. Then the officer responded, his voice completely transformed, hesitant, almost frightened. "This is Officer Bradley Mitchell, badge 7429. Danielle repeated it for the sergeant. Sergeant Williams said something unexpected. "Miss Moore, Officer Mitchell has no assignment in your district tonight. He shouldn't be anywhere near Capitol Hill. I'm dispatching units to you immediately. Keep that door locked. Not for Officer Mitchell, not for anyone until you physically see me. 5 minutes away." Danielle heard Mitchell's footsteps retreating rapidly. She watched her phone, the doorbell application still streaming. She observed Officer Bradley Mitchell rushing down the corridor, face captured throughout, clearly recognizing his catastrophic error. Her doorbell camera documented everything from his initial approach. What the hell just occurred? Danielle remained connected with Sergeant Williams. She monitored through her doorbell application. Within 6 minutes, 3 patrol vehicles appeared. She watched Sergeant Williams, plus 4 additional officers, entering through the lobby camera system. Professional knocking followed, not aggressive. "Miss Moore, Sergeant Williams here with 3 colleagues. Look through your peephole and confirm our presence." Danielle verified. 4 officers, name tags displayed. Sergeant Williams raised his identification to the peephole. She opened up. Sergeant Williams was an African-American man around 50 with graying temples and the settled presence of extensive experience. Seeing Danielle in sleepwear, obviously just awakened, his expression showed sympathy. "Miss Moore, sincere apologies for tonight's events. Walk me through everything?" Danielle explained it all: the pounding, threats, explanation refusals, countdown, emergency call. She displayed her phone's audio file. She opened her doorbell application showing the footage, pristine video of Officer Bradley Mitchell at her entrance, face fully captured, aggressive behavior recorded from encounter start. She showed the text conversation with neighbor Ryan. Ryan emerged from his apartment, Caucasian male, late 30s, hoodie and sweatpants, phone in hand. "Got it on my doorbell camera as well," Ryan stated. "Different perspective. Audio and video both. That officer never properly identified himself. Made threats throughout. Aggressive immediately. And I guarantee no disturbance happened. I was home all evening. This corridor stayed silent until he started hammering Danielle's door." Sergeant Williams collected both contact details. He appeared genuinely disturbed. "Miss Moore, did Officer Mitchell explain his presence? Mention any specific complaint or caller?" "He claimed a disturbance call, but when I phoned 911, dispatch reported 0 calls for this address." Sergeant Williams glanced at his accompanying officers. One of them, a younger female officer, shook her head incredulously. "I need absolute honesty here. Do you know Officer Mitchell? Any previous encounters?" "None. Never saw him before tonight." "Any neighbor disputes? Complaints filed about you? Anything explaining why an officer would appear at your door?" "Nothing whatsoever. I work, I sleep, barely home. 7 years here, 0 problems." Sergeant Williams nodded slowly. "Miss Moore, complete honesty, this situation is extremely serious. An officer operating outside his assigned zone appeared at your residence with 0 service call, refused proper identification, threatened illegal entry. That violates police procedure. That's illegal activity. Something's fundamentally wrong here. Think the sergeant already suspected how bad this would get? Drop yes below." What Sergeant Williams didn't mention that evening was Officer Bradley Mitchell's ongoing quiet investigation for 6 months. The department received 3 anonymous complaints from women claiming Mitchell visited their residences late at night, always solo, always when they lived alone, always with vague disturbance claims that dispatch never recorded. But the women remained too frightened for formal complaints. They provided anonymous statements, refusing official records. Without victims willing to testify, internal affairs couldn't proceed. They'd been monitoring Mitchell, examining patrol records, searching for patterns, but required evidence. Danielle just provided that evidence with audio documentation, with doorbell footage showing Mitchell's face clearly, with witness testimony from Ryan, with a 911 call proving 0 legitimate disturbance, everything documented and time-stamped. Sergeant Williams gathered Danielle's contact information. He explained internal affairs would reach out within 24 hours. He requested she download the doorbell footage and transmit it alongside the audio file and any additional documentation. Then he added something else. "Miss Moore, understand you handled tonight perfectly. Stayed composed, asked appropriate questions, documented comprehensively, called 911, protected yourself without escalation. Many people would have opened that entrance. and I believe you faced real danger if you had." Danielle felt cold dread. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Can't elaborate currently, but I'm profoundly grateful you kept that door secured." The officers departed. Danielle locked everything, verified every window, didn't sleep the remaining night. Next morning, a detective from the Sexual Assault and Child Abuse Unit contacted her, not Internal Affairs, the SACA unit. That's when Danielle learned the complete story. Officer Bradley Mitchell had served Seattle police for 11 years. Unremarkable record, no significant commendations, no major complaints, just average performance doing average work. 6 months prior, a woman reported to SACA unit that a police officer sexually assaulted her after arriving at her apartment late, claiming disturbance calls. She admitted him. He assaulted her. She reported immediately but couldn't identify which officer, too traumatized to clearly remember his appearance, and he'd kept his badge concealed. Then 2 additional women emerged with matching accounts. Late-night visits, disturbance call claims, forced home entry, assaults, but again, positive officer identification proved impossible. SACA unit collaborated with Internal Affairs identifying potential suspects. They narrowed to 3 officers based on patrol patterns and scheduling. Bradley Mitchell was among them, but insufficient evidence existed for arrest or thorough patrol record examination. They required something concrete. Danielle provided that concrete evidence. Mitchell approached her apartment with 0 service call, attempted forced entry, refused proper identification, all documented on her doorbell camera with face clearly visible. The detective asked if Danielle would provide formal statement and potentially testify. Danielle agreed immediately. Within 48 hours, the department secured warrants for Mitchell's patrol vehicle computer, personal cellular device, and home computer. Discoveries were devastating. Mitchell had exploited the patrol database searching women living alone. He'd query addresses with single female occupants, typically late 20s through early 40s, typically residing in apartments without doormen or substantial security. He'd been doing this minimally 3 years. His patrol car, GPS records, showed dozens of these address visits while off duty, always late evening, always in civilian clothes, but carrying his badge and firearm. They discovered photographs on his device, images of women through windows, apartment building entryways, schedule notes. It worsened. They found recordings. Mitchell wore a concealed camera during certain late-night visits. He'd recorded himself assaulting women. The evidence was overwhelming and horrifying. Bradley Mitchell was arrested at his residence Monday morning. Charges included 3 counts first-degree rape, 5 counts burglary with sexual motivation, 8 stalking counts, plus multiple official misconduct and authority abuse charges. The case reached national media, not merely for Mitchell's actions, but how Danielle's documentation cracked everything open. Danielle's audio recording played at preliminary hearing. Doorbell camera footage entered evidence clear, video displaying Mitchell's face, aggressive posture, threats, everything. Ryan's doorbell camera from across the corridor corroborated everything from secondary perspective. The 911 call with dispatch proved 0 legitimate reason for Mitchell's presence at Danielle's door. The prosecutor called it the most transparent example of predatory police officer behavior she'd encountered. But Danielle wasn't finished. She filed federal civil rights litigation against Seattle Police Department, not primarily for monetary compensation, though that would follow, but for accountability. Her lawsuit alleged departmental failure properly investigating earlier Mitchell complaints, allowing continued patrol during investigation, maintaining inadequate policies, handling officer sexual assault allegations, failing public protection. The lawsuit, filed in Western District of Washington, 68 pages, including expert testimony from law enforcement professionals, forensic specialists, and civil rights attorneys. Danielle's attorney ranked among Seattle's finest civil rights lawyers, accepting the case pro bono through genuine belief. The city initially resisted. They argued ongoing Mitchell investigation, proper procedure adherence, inability to identify predatory behavior without evidence. Danielle's attorney demolished those arguments. She demonstrated 3 women presenting nearly identical accounts months before Danielle's incident. She proved minimal departmental follow-up, She showed Mitchell's database searches were logged and should have triggered alerts. She proved department policies required more aggressive investigation of officer sexual assault allegations. Trial lasted 9 days. Jury deliberated 4 hours. They ruled for Danielle on every charge. Jury awarded her $575,000 in damages. More significantly, the judge mandated Seattle Police Department implement comprehensive reforms addressing officer sexual misconduct allegations. Think $575,000 was sufficient? Share your thoughts below. But genuine impact came from Danielle's use of that money. She retained $50,000 covering legal costs and trial time off work. The remainder, $525,000, she donated to 3 organizations. $200,000 funded King County Sexual Assault Resource Center, providing complimentary counseling and survivor support. $150,000 supported legal aid organizations helping low-income individuals file civil rights lawsuits. $175,000 launched a grant program financing security systems, doorbell cameras, and safety equipment for women living alone in elevated crime neighborhoods. Danielle granted local news interviews. Calm, articulate, focused on broader implications. She discussed documentation importance when encountering police. She emphasized knowing your rights. She acknowledged courage from other women who came forward. She also discussed quality officers she'd worked with during her forensic nursing years. She clarified this wasn't about all police, about accountability, ensuring predators couldn't exploit badges for cover. Bradley Mitchell's criminal trial commenced 8 months later. Convicted on 11 charges, the judge sentenced him to 38 years imprisonment without parole eligibility for the initial 25 years. During sentencing, all 3 assaulted victims delivered impact statements. They described trauma, fear, violation of trusted authority attacking them in their homes. Danielle didn't provide sentencing statement. She'd never been physically assaulted by him, but attended every trial day supporting other victims. Following sentencing, one victim named Jennifer approached Danielle outside the courthouse. She embraced her, saying something Danielle still contemplates. "You rescued my life, not just stopping him from hurting more people, but showing me we could resist, we could prevail, we didn't need fear anymore." Seattle Police Department implemented every judge-ordered reform. They established independent review boards specifically for sexual misconduct allegations. They implemented automatic database flagging systems, identifying officers searching personal information without legitimate case justification. They mandated body cameras for all public contact, including welfare checks and noise complaints. They created mandatory training recognizing and reporting predatory fellow officer behavior. The department also contacted the 3 women filing anonymous pre-Danielle complaints. They apologized, offered reopening investigations with complete support and resources. 2 women agreed to formal statements, generating additional Mitchell charges. Danielle continued emergency room nursing, promoted to trauma unit leadership. Still works identical brutal shifts, still regularly saves lives. But now she also presents at police academies, nursing schools, community centers about documentation, evidence collection, knowing your rights. She displays that night's audio recording, shows her doorbell camera footage, clear video of Mitchell's face, body language, threats. She guides people through exactly her actions and reasoning. Her message stays consistent. Stay composed. Ask questions. Document everything. Don't fear calling 911 even with police present. Know your rights. Trust your instincts. The doorbell camera footage remains training material nationwide. Law enforcement agencies display it, demonstrating officer authority abuse consequences. They show it as cautionary warning how one wrong choice destroys careers and lives. But they also show Danielle's response, exemplifying civilian self-protection, how questioning isn't obstruction, documentation is power, composure can preserve life. Ryan, Danielle's neighbor who recorded everything on his doorbell camera, still occupies the opposite apartment. They're close friends now. He jokes about being her unofficial security, though Danielle notes she possesses actual combat experience. Meridian Apartments encouraged all residents installing doorbell cameras post-incident, offering security company discount programs. Management distributed letters to all residents about their rights during police door contact and video documentation importance. Bradley Mitchell currently serves his sentence at Washington State Penitentiary. He appealed claiming unconstitutional computer searches. Appeal denied. He's filed 2 additional appeals since both denied. He'll reach parole eligibility at age 68. Given crime severity and his police position exploitation committing them, release remains unlikely ever. Danielle rarely discusses that night anymore. She refuses definition by it. She's a trauma nurse, that's her identity, her calling. But when she does discuss it, interviews or training sessions, she emphasizes one constant. She wasn't exceptional, wasn't an attorney or officer or insider, just a nurse who'd worked alongside law enforcement enough recognizing something wrong, who trusted instincts, documented everything, maintained composure under pressure. Anyone can replicate her actions. Know your rights. Ask questions. Record everything. Call 911 if something feels wrong. Don't unlock doors merely because someone carries a badge. Final question for you. Do you own security or doorbell cameras? If this story convinced you to acquire one, type yes below. This story matters because predators exist everywhere, including authority positions. It demonstrates trusting instincts matters. It proves documentation can preserve life. Danielle Moore wasn't attempting heroism. She simply wanted rest, following a brutal hospital shift. But through asking questions, documenting everything, trusting something felt wrong, she stopped a serial predator and potentially protected dozens of women from assault. One secured door, one audio file, one doorbell camera, one neighbor's camera, one 911 call. 11 years of police career terminated, 38 years imprisonment, $575,000 damages, 3 organizations funded supporting survivors, department-wide policy transformations, and countless women protected from a badge-hiding predator. That's composure's power. That's documentation's importance. That's what happens when someone trusts instincts and refuses intimidation, even from uniformed authority. Thanks for watching this complete story. If this opened your perspective or taught something valuable, ensure you're subscribed for more stories like this. Comment whether you'd have unlocked that door or stayed inside like Danielle. Share this with someone needing to know they have questioning rights even with police at their door. See you next time.